What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to a new week here on Anfield Agenda, and of course it is Monday's late night agenda. We know the Reds are in action tomorrow. It's an 8:15 kickoff against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and of course we'll be here from 7 o'clock to take you right throughout the 90 minutes. We'll have our match reaction, player ratings video, and of course everything else you would expect on a match day. Ladies and gentlemen, our new giveaway has just launched. You've probably seen it when we were starting off the stream. We are giving away a signed and framed King Kenny Dalglish signed shirt with thanks to our friends at the Collector's Corner. That is our March giveaway. January, we had the Stevie G shirt. February, of course, we had the Jurgen Klopp shirt. Now, for March, we have a signed and framed King Kenny shirt to give away. So make sure that you do enter it. We'll give you more details on how to do so a little bit later in the stream. Tonight, we're going to be speaking about Jeremy Jacquet requiring surgery. We'll be talking about some attacking options for the Reds as well as the centre-back search. We'll ask, is Cody Gakpo going to depart this summer? It looks like he may well do. That and lots more over the next 90 minutes. So, hope you're all well. Busy day behind the scenes today. I finally finished. I started my, I don't want to call it scouting because that makes it sound like I'm in any way intelligent, but I started my looking over Alise Diamande a few days ago, and today I finished what I would class as the bit of research I did, and I have to say, sign me up. I'm fully on board. He's the guy. Go get him. But not at €100 million. I really have been impressed at what I've seen over the last few days of Diamande when I've been scouting through his defensive stuff as well as his offensive stuff, of course. We know what a threat he is in the Bundesliga, but I didn't realise quite how good he was with both his feet. I was sitting back watching an array of his goals today and, yeah, very pleasantly surprised to see the different ways he goes about scoring, the different ways he can beat his man, the different ways he could be impactful. And at just 19 years of age, he's an undoubted talent. So I'm fully on board now. You can sign me up for that. But let's wait and see what happens. Getting the feeling players are moving away too easy. Really? I don't get that feeling myself, to be honest, mate. I mean, anybody the club wants to keep outside of Trent, of course, I think we've been able to keep in recent times. The Cody Gakpo thing is an interesting one, though, because he signed a new contract, obviously, last summer, and now he's already been linked with moves away. Even the manager kind of speaking a little bit about the Cody Gakpo situation, saying that, you know, it's good to have him back on the score sheet, but not just Bayern Munich have been linked with a move away. We're going to talk about Atletico Madrid tonight with a potential move for Cody there. We'll also be talking about some links with Liverpool with Luis Suarez, not that Luis Suarez, the other Luis Suarez that plays for Sporting Lisbon, and a little bit on Manchester United entering the race for Adam Wharton as well. Do you think we will get Matheus Fernandes, said Owen. I don't know, Owen. I could not sit here right now, bro, and tell you who I believe is going to be brought in midfield. I think Wharton's an option. Fernandes is an option. I'm not really sure how much of an option Anderson is, although he looks like he will be of interest to a lot of football clubs this summer. I just don't know of Liverpool's interest there for Elliot Anderson. But certainly Adam Wharton, yes. Fernandes, as I said to you guys yesterday, I've been told to keep an eye on that situation over the past couple of weeks. If West Ham go down, he could be available. We talked earlier on, actually, in the early video today about Manchester United's interest in him and Jarrod Bowen. So this piece here coming out of Team Talk said that Manchester United are eyeing superb £94 million West Ham duo Jarrod Bowen and Matheus Fernandes. It's a little bit funny, this, because I swear Manchester United have been linked with 8 defensive midfielders or deep lying midfielders over the last couple of months, and every one of them there's been some version of have been targeted as the one. He's the guy, whether it's Anderson, whether it's Fernandes there, whether it's Carlos Baleba. Manchester United don't seem to be able to make their minds up, or at least according to the media anyway. Daytree Bunny Interpreter. I did it. I watched it about an hour ago. I actually watched the Super Bowl one, and then we watched a different one as well. So I did the one at the Super Bowl. She was really getting into it, wasn't she? I watched another one where there was an interpreter that was doing the sign language for Eminem and Bad Bunny. So I promise you, I did look at them today, and yeah, it was impressive. So thank you for the suggestion. Right, let's get stuck into the news, folks, because there's a load for us to get through. So let's start off with some rule changes, if I can. that you can expect to see at the World Cup this summer. So, breaking, these new rules that have been approved by IFAB will be used at the World Cup this summer. A player who is substituted will have 10 seconds to leave the field. If they take longer than that, the player coming on must wait for at least 1 minute before being allowed to enter the field of play. If a player asks for medical assistance on the field, he must leave the pitch for at least 1 minute. Exceptions can be made. Usually, if there's a booking, the player doesn't have to leave the pitch. So if the player's fouled, there's a booking involved, the player can get treatment on the pitch without having to go off. If the referee thinks time is being wasted, a throw-ins or goal kicks, he'll start a 5-second countdown. And if the ball is not put back into play within that 5-second countdown, the referee will award the throw-in to the other team, or a goal kick will be given as a corner, and I'm sure vice versa, a corner could be converted to a goal kick. VAR will also be able to review second yellow cards and corner kicks if it detects a mistake. That coming via the BBC. So they've been confirmed as changes that you can expect to see at the World Cup this summer. Jasnet said, I don't mind it except for the VAR changes and corners. I don't like that winger rule. I don't mind that. It's the yellow cards one that kind of has me a bit worried about how they're going to utilise the second yellow card thing. If it's for a very clear, obvious error or something, fair enough. I eventually, by the way, got to see the situation with Matheus Cunha. I told you guys I'd seen the challenge on Harry Maguire, which was a shambles, by the way. He should be ashamed of himself. But that Matheus Cunha red card was a piss take. An absolute piss take. But then again, I don't really expect anything different from the Premier League officials these days. Why do they keep having to change the rules, Ian? It's a pretty good question, bro. It's a pretty good question. And honestly, mate, I wish they'd just sort out the handball rule. If they could just focus on making that really clear to referees, that would go a long way with me. I don't mind anything that's trying to stop time wasting. Genuinely, I don't. We want the game in action. We want stuff happening on the pitch. We don't want to see what happened when we played Galatasaray, as an example. We don't want to see what Atletico Madrid do, what Arsenal do, that wasting of time. It's just too long. I mean, I remember watching the Arsenal game against Chelsea, and they just take the piss with how long they take over throw-ins and corners and stuff like that. It really is just becoming ridiculous at this point. And look, it's not just Arsenal that are to blame, but I'm all for it. That gets the ball back in play quicker, I think we should be behind. Craig, what do you think of Angelo Stiller? Very good player. Very good player. Real Madrid have been a name interested in him as well. Stuttgart will be a selling club, so they would be, I'm sure, open to moving him on. But again, I couldn't sit here and say to you with any level of certainty how serious Liverpool would be around Angelo Stiller. Definitely a name that's been linked. I haven't really followed his progression this season as much. I know he had an injury at the end of last season, but I haven't really seen too much of him this year. A couple of clips and highlights I've seen of Stuttgart, I've been keeping an eye on their manager as well, Sebastian Hoeneß. So, good player, but I'm not going to be the one to say yay or nay on that, whether he comes in, because I truly don't know. Somebody, I think it was Dave Sharples, made a good point the other night. Yeah, it does happen, Dave. Occasionally. You do make a good point occasionally, bro. That we need to keep an eye on the homegrown quota as well. It is something that we really do need to keep an eye on. Right, let's talk about Mr. Hugo Ekitike. He has been nominated for the Premier League Player of the Week, so do make sure that you go and vote on that one. You can find all the details on the official Liverpool website. What else? Right, let's start talking about Arne Slot and some of his some of his press conference ahead of the West Ham, I'm going to try that sentence again. Let's talk about Arne Slot and some of his pre-Wolves press conference comments. There you go. That's what I was looking to do. So, he was talking about set pieces, and he said, I watch the Eredivisie still, and fouls against keepers are always given. Here you can almost hit a goalkeeper in the face, and it's play on. My football heart doesn't like it. Said many times I loved watching Barcelona 15 years ago. Most of the games in the Premier League are not a joy to watch, but it's always interesting as it's so competitive. That's what makes this league great. Anyone can beat anyone. I wouldn't be surprised if you see teams aged under 16s completely focused on set pieces. Again, even at that, to me that's an insult to English football. Again, disguised as somewhat of praise. His football heart doesn't like it. Well, tough shit. That's the league you're in now, mate. So figure it out like you have done. To be fair to Arne, he has sorted out the set pieces. We have been a lot better from them. I don't mind a bit of physicality. I really don't. I think it's better to let things go than selectively give fouls out, because that's what happened most of the time. Very rarely do you see penalties given. It's usually a free out when you're talking about shenanigans from a set piece in the 6-yard box or the 18-yard box. So I don't mind it. I don't mind a bit of physicality in the Premier League from set pieces. Put it into the area and let them fight it out. Actually, there was a really interesting bit of analysis done from Sky around Liverpool's new corner routine and exactly where they are putting the ball into. Now, let me see if I can bring this up on screen for you. 1 second. Yeah, there you go. So look at that. Liverpool's new corner routine. Credit Sky Sports there. It's their piece. So let me just get that there so I can get Sky Sports graphic ink. So I want to be fair to them. There you go. So Liverpool's new corner routine for the last 3 Premier League games. As you can see, pretty much all of them, bar a few percentage, are going into the 6-yard box. So 70% going right in on top of the goalkeeper, and then 13% either side of the goalkeeper, with just 4% going short. So Liverpool's new corner routine, put it in on top of the keeper and make stuff happen. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. You can see you can see how a difference it's made to us and how much better we have been from set pieces, especially with Virgil being as good as he is aerially. James, good evening, Craig. Hope you're well. Have you seen some news floating around regarding Alise? If so, what do you think? I actually have some news here around Alise. This one here. 1 second. This comes from Florian Plettenberg, who said, Michael Alise and Jan Diomande are Liverpool's dream targets this summer. However, Liverpool are aware that signing Alise is unrealistic. They know that Bayern have no intention to sell and that the player also doesn't want to leave. Goes on to say, therefore, the target in Diomande as he would be more realistic. Bayern also have the latter on the list, but a move is unlikely. Now, Bayern Space, I went back and read some posts from Bayern Space that they had put up, and they reckon that Alise's first level of his buyout clause comes active in the summer of 2026. Others say it's later, and then some others say there's no release clause whatsoever. I tend to believe Bayern Space on this one because they've been pretty good, and I certainly, if they've gained my trust with a lot of their posts and a lot of the stuff they've gotten right. But on this one, I guess we'll wait and see. I'm fully on board though with Jan Diomande now. Now that I've done my research, now that I've actually spent time looking into him and watching him and looking at his movements and looking at his left foot, his right foot, different ways he scores, different ways he takes players on, the pace that he has. It's frightening. He does not look like a 19-year-old. Even physically, he doesn't look like a 19-year-old. He looks far more polished than a 19-year-old should. So I am absolutely on board with Jan Diomande now. The only thing I don't feel comfortable with is the price tag that is apparently being asked, which is about 100 million euro. Just seems excessive for me, but we'll get stuck into that in a little bit more detail a little bit later on. Slot loves praise followed by a backhand. Yeah, he does. It's mad. It's like it's passive aggressiveness at its finest. I don't think it's realistic, if I'm being honest. I don't know which one this was about, Keane. We have a poll running, by the way, folks. We asked you, should Virgil van Dijk be given a new contract? Now, the reason we're asking about this is it just stems from a conversation myself and Connor had where we were talking about just how incredible Virgil is on so many levels, but none more so than his availability. So far this season in the Premier League, Virgil van Dijk's made 215 clearances, ranking number 1. Clearances per game, 7.7, ranking number 1. Aerial duels won 136, ranking number 1. Aerial duels won per game, 4.9, again ranking number 1. And 2,144 passes as well, again ranking at number 1. On top of that, we went through the morning video earlier on where we talked about quite how available Virgil is. Greg Evans has done a good piece that said, if Virgil van Dijk plays against Wolves tomorrow for Liverpool, he'd have been available for the last 100 Premier League games and starting 99 of them. Maintaining that level of availability in any campaign is remarkable. Doing it between the ages of 32 and 34 is extraordinary, particularly when only one other current Premier League player comes close to matching it. For me, I think it's a no-brainer to give Virgil an extension. I really do. Now, I'll probably try to roll him over on the contract he's on, but I would feel no worries whatsoever about giving Virgil a new deal. He plays in a position where he can probably go on a little bit later than some other players. Goalkeepers, centre backs, they can go on a little bit later than some other positions. So I think it would be a no-brainer to give him a 1-year contract extension this summer, tying him up for next season and, of course, the season after. And I don't just say that with sentimentality. I say that based off what we're seeing this year. He's been remarkable. And that availability rate as well. Like, we talked about what makes the great players great the other day. We spoke about Mohamed Salah, Messi, Ronaldo, and their availability, their longevity. Same with Virgil. Just never injured. It's incredible. So yeah, I think if we can tie Virgil down to another year, I'd be all for it. I have no problem thinking Virgil could play to 36, 37 years of age. But do let me know in the poll what you guys think. Would you like to see him given another extension? I mean, with those numbers and him topping so many charts, why not? What does everybody else think about Andre from Wolves as a CDM? He was a name that we were linked with when he was still in Brazil. I just don't know if Andre would have the physical presence. That would be the only thing for me. Very good footballer. Obviously now got a bit of Premier League experience as well. Had a good season as far as Wolves are concerned. I know Wolves are in a terrible position, but he's been playing well. I just don't know physicality-wise if he'd be enough. We kind of look at him in the same way I maybe look at the likes of a Javier Mascherano or something like that. In this era, the way the Premier League is, might need something a little bit bigger. That's my only real drawback there for him. How about not spamming anything for anybody into the chat, Keelan? Because spamming anything is just going to get you timed out. So, right, let's get going. We've done that one. Wirtz. Let's talk a little bit about Florian Wirtz. This piece here from Romano, just again quoting Arna, said the Wirtz will miss the next 2 games for the Reds, which is unfortunate, but hopes to have him back for the game against Galatasaray next week. Gonna miss both the Wolves games by the looks of it, which is a big loss to us. He's you can see he's been missing for the last couple of games. We haven't looked as coordinated in attack. We just haven't looked as dangerous at times. I know we scored 5 goals against West Ham, but if you look at the XG again, it was 1.92, something along those lines. And not having Wirtz around will be tough, but if he's back for Galatasaray, that's really important. Really, really important, because it's going to be a tough game over there. We know that. We played them in the league phase of the Champions League, so fingers crossed he is back and available for the manager for that one. VVD has lost his pace, and by this season he's proved he's just not up to it now. Philip, are you like, is that a wind-up comment or true? Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole, Philip. I just find it very difficult to believe that you think he's not up to it. The man who ranks top of pretty much most defensive metrics in the Premier League and in the top 5 in Europe, I think, if not higher. What? He's not dropped off one bit, mate. Not one bit. Pace-wise, perhaps, but he doesn't really rely on his pace all that much, does he? If you look at Virgil's defending, a lot of it's aerial defending and some of it's with the ball at his feet and how he progresses our attacks and stuff like that. I really, respectfully, mate, I'd strongly disagree with you on Virgil having dropped off. Whatever happened to Flo? He pulled a muscle in his back in the warm-up before the Forest game and was a little bit worse than people initially thought, unfortunately. So he's missed the last 2 and looks like he's going to miss the next 2 as well. Tomorrow's game and Friday's game, unfortunately. Paul said VVD struggled a bit earlier in the season, but the last 2 months has been great. VVD needs an extension. He's proven that he can go on for much longer, and I wouldn't mind if he extended to stay one of the best. I'm right behind you. Right behind you, mate. I think, I'm not saying that mad. Like, I'm not saying give him another 4-year contract, but he's halfway through a 2-year extension. And, I think it would be a good sign from the club to give him one now and not let it go halfway through next year and then have the whole drama about what's going to happen. Is Virgil going to leave at the end of it? I think just give him another year now. That would be best all round in my humble opinion. Who won the Klopp shirt? I missed it. It was a lady called Wendy Hollingsworth. Wendy Hollingsworth won it. I'm sure we posted it into the WhatsApp and stuff like that as well, the winner's name. But yeah, it was a lady by the name of Wendy Hollingsworth who won it, and congratulations to Wendy. This one we're giving away this time, folks, is a signed and framed Kenny Dalglish shirt, completely free again. All you have to do, scan the QR code or use the link in the description for further details on how to enter, and we will be announcing the winner at the end of March. And again, thank you so much to our friends at the collectorscorner.co.uk who have teamed up with us for all these giveaways. Keane, how are you, sir? Said, Slot still needs to go. This winning run isn't good, and I'm nowhere near convinced we're dire to watch, in my opinion. So I'm with you, Keane. I'm with you. You know, I've been more quiet about the situation because, well, we're winning games of football. You know, and it's very unfair of me to be angry if we're winning games of football. But what you've said there is kind of echoes my own sentiment. There's too much damage done for me to change my mind. But like I said, I want us to be successful. I'm not going to go out of my way to be toxic about it, but if I had my say on it, I'd be getting rid of him in the summer. So yeah, and I dare say I think most of the chat are with you. I mean, we ran a poll yesterday where we asked, you know, have you changed your mind, or has Arna won you over? And I actually don't remember the exact results of it, but it was certainly over 70%, maybe even higher than that, that said no, they haven't changed their mind. Giant Gift said, Slot's team has no intensity. That's obvious. He's a continental style coach. So here's where I am with the way he talks about the league. It's almost like he's annoyed that the league isn't playing the way he wants to play, or the way he'd planned to have us playing. And he's annoyed that it's a physical league. You know, he keeps going on about the style he wants to play, and even at that, he says he wants to be a possession-based team. Well, we lost the possession battle at home to West Ham, so how's that sitting with his worldview of how he wants us to play football? Yeah, and I just can't take to him as a fella. You know, I tried last year. I really tried to force myself into liking him, but I can't do it. I can't do it. Paro, how are you, sir? Said, hey, Craig, how are you and the family? Very good. Yeah, very good. Thank you, mate. Happy enough. And appreciate you being with us as a member for 14 months. That's awesome, mate. Thank you so much for your continued support. Oh, we got the Anfield Agenda shirt back from the Framers today. You know, the one we sponsored, the local football team here. We got the shirt back from the Framers today. It looks pretty good. Let me see if I have it here that I can show you. There we go. Oh, of course it's too big. Always too big. That's not what she said. Let me just show you this one. And then we'll get stuck into more of the news. So there you can see. There's the framed Anfield Agenda shirt that we got done. That we were presented by the club that we sponsored, Cortown Hibs. So yeah, that's going to be up in the office. And it's still very surreal seeing our logo on a shirt, like it's mad. But we've committed to buying another set of kits as well for another one of the teams down there. So yeah, very proud. But yeah, it's looking good in the office. What happened to the Barcola links? I think he go on to another level in the Prem. Still kind of there, mate, to be honest. Like, it hasn't gone away, but I just think it feels like from the outside, Jan Diamande is the one at this moment in time that Liverpool are strongly looking at. Now, it depends maybe how many wide players we lose. Right now, I think we'd all agree we need to add in one more wide player, even with what we have at the club. But if you were to lose a Mohamed Salah, if you sold a Cody Gakpo, then you're probably talking about another one on top of that. Now, of course, it'll come down to whether Barcola is happy at Paris Saint-Germain, whether Paris Saint-Germain have any intention to sell him or not, but definitely that interest from Liverpool is still there. Did you see Liverpool are looking at Bayern Munich player Konrad Laimer operates as midfielder right back? I didn't see, I haven't seen that link myself, Alan, but again, doesn't mean that, mate, other than I haven't seen it. I know who Konrad Laimer is, all right, but No, not saying I've seen the link myself, but don't know how I'd feel about that one. I mean, it is a tough situation, isn't it? The right back one, because what you've said would make sense. Bringing in somebody that isn't, solely a right back, but can play in that position and in midfield or in another position. That versatility would be something we'd lose with Joe Gomez going in the summer if he departs. So makes sense in some way, but can't say I've seen the link. But like I've said before, that doesn't mean anything other than I might be in the loop on that one. Sean Savant said, we should give VVD an extension. At worst, if we have Canada and Xhaka as solid starters in 2 years, Verge can be what Robertson is for us now. At worst, yeah, like you've said, for me, a couple of things on this one. He's our captain, which is important. But also, I genuinely think he has at least 2 more years in him at the top level. I don't think he's really missed a beat as the season's gone on, and that robustness is incredible. Like, we've been really lucky this year. In years gone by, if you think about it, Canada has picked up quite a few muscle strains and knocks, but we've been lucky this year in that he's been pretty much fit throughout the season, as has the big man Virgil. So, yeah, I'm fully on board with an extension. Now, I must stress that this isn't something we know is coming down the line or anything like that. We don't have any inside information on an extension. Just stems from a conversation me and Connor were having about what we think, and we both thought, yeah, he deserves an extension. J. Bob Sad said, possession football is garbage. It's just another way of saying you're playing defensive football and showing no ambition to destroy teams, like how Chelsea played against Arsenal. Well, I'm not against a little bit of tiki-taka if there is a proper rhythm to it and there's a proper utilization of it. Like, possession for possession's sake is what I would say we see under Arna when we do keep the ball. Whereas if you look at that Barcelona model of the tiki-taka style that they used to play, it's all about creating spaces. It's all about creating little triangles and moving the ball through the pitch in these patterns of play where players are constantly evolving and moving and trying to create overloads. But that's not what we were looking at when we were seeing us just passing the ball side to side, moving it around. It's just boring garbage. Let's be honest with it. It fucking is. What else have we got? Where are we on this? Right. So we'll call it 20 more votes and we'll call this one on the VVD contract extension. I wanted to do a poll for you guys on the centre-back situation. I wanted to know which one of these centre-backs would you go for, because there's a list that have come out from Team Talk of 4, and I want to know which one of them you guys would go for. So I'm going to put them all in, and you guys tell me which one would be your preferred choice. Right, just need 5 more votes, and then we'll put this one up. Boom, there we go. Right, so, yes, 82% of you guys think, yes, Virgil should get a contract extension, and thank you to everyone that took the time to vote. Right. One second. Okay, so I'm going to put these down in the order that they're in. Okay, next one. Okay, 2 more. 1 second. And the last one. Right, so this is based off a piece from Team Talk. Now, I'll put the poll in, then I'll read out the piece. So it said, Liverpool are interested in the following players as they look to strengthen at centre-back in the summer. Mickey van de Ven, Alessandro Bastoni, Nico Schlotterbeck, and Murillo. Now, before you cast your vote, think about how they would play in our system. If we're playing with a back 4, think about which ones would be suited to it. Because when I look at this list, I immediately rule out the first 2, Van de Ven and Bastoni, because I think we'd have to play with a back 3 for those to make sense to me. I don't think either of them are good enough aerially if we play as a back two. So then you're looking at Schlotterbeck and Murillo. And that would make a bit more sense to me if we are sticking with a back four. I think both of those could be utilised better in a back four. But maybe you think differently. So for me, number one on that list would probably be Schlotterbeck, for me. But if we're moving to a back three, that's a different conversation altogether. But for me, I'd say Schlotterbeck's the one I'd be going for. Thinking about what we have needs-wide and what we might need moving forward, I'd be going for Schlotterbeck. Murillo, a very good player as well. If Forest go down, I would I'd be interested to see if we are having a sniff round there. Van de Ven, there are pros and cons to Van de Ven. Obviously, you have to worry about injuries. I think Real Madrid have been linked with him as well in recent times. His aerial stats, Keane put them into our WhatsApp or our Discord, excuse me. They're not great. Not great at all. And Bastoni, again, if you're playing left side of a back three, fine. But I don't think Bastoni at centre-back for us would be good enough for the way that we play. I really don't. I just don't think he'd be strong enough aerially and win as many aerial duels as the likes of Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahim Kanade. So for me, I'd probably go for Schlotterbeck. That would be my choice. Winning the league next year our priority? Yes. I would say yes. Has to be. Because this season wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough the way we went from sorry, I'm distracted by a comment. What was the question again? Comment distracted me. Yes, for me it would be. Now others may say Champions League, mate, but for me it would be. Thundercats Litterbox said, why your logo on that jersey would have been far more intimidating if it was your screaming face Connor uses in the thumbnails. Well, there is actually a sign around the pitch that has my face on it. So maybe that'll scare them instead. Just Average Joel, how are we, mate? Said, thanks for the show. My pleasure, mate. Thank you for being with us. It's truly one of the best ways to spend an afternoon. I've been feeling a bit down since my dog passed away, and I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate what you do. These are the type of things, mate, that I'm not going to lie, it's never not great to hear that people think so highly of you. It really does. For somebody who's so unconfident as I am, it really means a lot to know that. I'm really sorry to hear about your dog as well. Suffered our own loss of a dog last year, and it was heartbreaking. So definitely understand that pain. But thank you so much, mate, for your kind words. It means a lot to me. The fact that you guys give up some of your time even just to come in and have a chat with me is more than you guys will ever know. So thank you, mate, and sending love your way. Stevie boy, Ali being fit next season, who starts? Oh, excuse me. Is that all being fit? Excuse me, mate. I misread that. All being fit next season. Who starts in the 9, Isak or Hugo? So, for me, right now, it's Hugo's shirt. But we also have to be adult about it and accept that when you sign a player for £125 million, when that player's fit, the manager is rightly going to be expected to be utilising that player. So, for me, the answer right now, off form, what we've seen this year, would have to be Hugo Ekitike. But, like I said, if you're being adult about it, you can't have a £125 million substitute that just, isn't starting. So, it's going to be a case of, can he find a way to get both of them in? Or can he find a way of keeping them both in rhythm and rotating them without taking it away from the team? Because what we know from this season is the lads have had far more time to get used to Hugo Ekitike, his movements, his style of play, his patterns, than they would have had with Alexander Isak. First world problems, but for me, yeah, Hugo. But you can't ignore the fact that we paid £125 million for Isak. You gotta play. Random one, but what do you think about Jim Carrey stuff? I love Jim Carrey. Incredible. I think he's probably... I know this sounds mad because he was so big for so long, but I still think he's probably underrated for a lot of the work he's done. But I love Jim Carrey. A big part of me growing up was Jim Carrey's movies, so Yeah, brilliant. I kind of was, when we're on holidays, we usually settle in for a few movie nights with our son who loves watching movies. And, we watched a few Jim Carrey's ones on our last holiday. So, yeah, big fan. Don't think that'll be Slot's problem, Ori, Isak, and Hugo. I hope. Oh, sorry. I was trying to think what you meant by that 60s red when you said it, but I think you mean he won't be here. Look, how do we feel about that? Genuinely. Like, without me trying to put my want and desires onto you guys, what do you think happens with the manager in the summer? Do you think that they pull the trigger and remove him? Do you think that they let him see out his contract and give him one more season? Um, you know, I've kind of, how do I say this? It feels like they're trying to portray a relationship and a connection to the manager that doesn't exist. When they talk about, there's been so much PR around this manager that hasn't matched the feeling of fans I know. And when you say that you're going to come under pressure every time you lose games, he knows himself that he's probably gotten away with more than he should have. And he probably shouldn't still be in charge now. So I don't think this relationship's repairable. I really, really can't get past that. I don't think that connection is there with fans, and I don't think it's going to be a case of even results turning it, because I think it's deeper than that. Yes, style of play is one of the things we've been disappointed about, but when you speak to Liverpool fans who aren't happy with the manager, and of course there are ones that are happy with the manager, but when you speak to the ones that aren't, one of the things that keeps coming up is his words, the style of language he uses, the way he always seems to have an excuse for why it's not down to him, or how things have changed, or I just, we have a phrase in Ireland, and I don't know if it translates, but we call it Mayfainers. It's all about me. Me, me, me. It's all about me. It's about my career. It's about me, me, me. So we call them Mayfainers over here in Ireland. And I don't know what other phrase to use, but yeah, I just don't connect. Sorry. Craig, can we go through another season with this manager? Please no, I don't want him at the club. Hopefully Liverpool see sense and get rid of him, make the right choice and get Alonso. If we finish Champions League, he deserves to be there. If we finish Champions League, if we get into the Champions League, like qualify, I disagree on that. If he wins the Champions League, I've always said you can't sack a manager that wins the Champions League, but are we saying that just qualifying for the Champions League is good enough? Really? Like, I'm not trying to be a smart arse, because that was not what we talked about at the start of the season. You don't get a trophy for finishing fifth. So for me, yeah, winning the Champions League, yes, that's a different conversation. But just qualifying for it is, no, sorry, that's underperformance still. Eddie said, for me, he should go. He already should be gone. Jack said, 2 wingers, centre-back and defensive midfielder. Is it enough? I think the answer to that question, Jack, probably comes down to what happens with the players that are at the club already as well, and how many we may depart. Because there is one thing I agree with Arna on and what he said recently, which is that the depth isn't really there. If you look around this summer, we did kind of go one in, one out. And that we improved the squad, but I don't think we added depth to the squad. I do think that's fair. If you look at the players who came in, it was kind of one in, one out. And then you can talk about ones we didn't replace, like Luis Diaz, didn't bring in another wide forward there because, my reading of this situation from the outside, and again, it's just one man's opinion, not trying to state it as a fact, is it almost feels like Arne feels like he's been fucked over by the club in that he hasn't been given enough depth. Because he really has a bee in his bonnet about the money that we spent and how it's perceived or how it's spoken about in the media. And I've said this before, I don't think our money and the way we spend it's been spoken about any different to any other club and how they've spent their money. You always talk about the big headline numbers. You don't go into the details of talking about what you brought in. I mean, yes, it's an important factor when you're talking about the finances of a club. You've got to, but I don't think we're being treated any differently to any other club that's had big summers or spent money. We broke the British transfer record twice, which is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I just get the feeling he wanted a bit more. You know, and we've seen some of the things come out from the likes of Anfield Watch and a few others who suggested that, you know, he didn't even want to really have Rio as an option this year. He wanted to go out and bring in somebody for the here and now. You know, somebody to be ready to come in and play. But from the club's perspective, I suppose, you do have to have a pathway through for these younger players. Now, I do appreciate that it's a difficult balancing act, though. I've always tried to be fair about that. Bringing through young players is difficult when you're at a club like Liverpool that expect to win things. Is there any skills you have that you don't know about, that we don't know about? Not really. I'm double jointed. I don't know if that's a skill. I'm double jointed like this kind of thing. Let's see if I can bring it up to camera. That's about it. I'm hyper flexible and double jointed in certain areas, but skills apart from that, no, not really. Don't really have any. I used to, I don't want to call it a dance troupe, but I was part of a dance group when I was younger, when I was 14, 15. But no, yeah, I'm not very, I'm not somebody with many skills to my name, unfortunately. I've always dreamt about being a stand-up comic. Problem is, I just can't tell a fucking joke. Yeah, that's God's honest truth. I'd love to be a stand-up comic, but I just can't tell a joke. Can I play darts? Yeah, but averagely. Same as, and I wouldn't say I'm good or bad. I'm somewhere in the middle. Um, yeah, there's nothing I think, like I can't juggle, or there's no hidden secret that I have that you guys don't know about. Like, no, I'm a pretty much a basic bitch. Jason Sanders said, "Too much change, never a good thing." That's true, but I guess we'll all have different views, Jason, of what would be too much change, mate. Right? Like for instance, a lot of people said this summer we had too much change, and I disagree with it. I never bought into the too much change thing because again, you look around and you see other teams who made a lot of changes and were still able to keep a rhythm. Um, so yeah, look, have we gotten better in recent times? Yes. I think to be fair about it, yes. Um, but would you say that football's enjoyable at the minute? Are you enjoying it? Because, you know, I'm always grateful for wins, but, you know, we were spoiled. Let's be honest about it. We were spoiled with Jurgen, with what we had, with how we played, with the way there was a connection with the fans. You know, everything just felt like we were all in that together. We were all pulling in the same direction, and we were all part of something incredible. I don't feel that way. Who do you think will win the World Cup? France, Argentina, Spain, or Portugal? One of those four. If I've said this a few times, though, Dominic, if it was in England or anywhere in Europe, I think England would have a really, really good chance to win the World Cup. Just the fact that it's in America with the temperatures and the weather the way it is in the summer over there, of course, with Mexico and Canada involved as well. I just don't know if that'll be a big, big, big factor. But England should be somewhere in the mix. You know, they've an absolutely stacked squad. Have you seen our last four Premier League games? It's insane, make or break. Yes, it is. And I said a few times, Ishmael, that I think we have to have a bit of a buffer going into those last games on the other teams fighting for the Champions League spots, because that is a horrendous run to finish the season. So right now is where I hope we can extend and build out a bit of a buffer on Chelsea, because yeah, going into those last few games, mate, you're right, it's tough. Right, let's keep going. Um, We have a poll running, by the way. Do vote on it if you get a chance, folks. We're asking you to pick one for us to try to sign at centre-back. The options are Mickey van de Ven, Alessandro Bastoni, Nico Schlotterbeck, or Murillo from Nottingham Forest. Right, let's talk Jeremy Jacquet for a minute. A report coming out of France said that Jeremy Jacquet will undergo surgery after sustaining a serious left shoulder luxation. I don't know what a luxation is. You have to excuse me on that one, but yeah, he needs surgery apparently. Now, hopefully he's back for pre-season. I mean, again, I don't know what the recovery period here is going to be for Jeremy, but from our perspective, you know, you'd want him to get the surgery as soon as possible and start the rehab so he can be available for the summer. It's a dislocation. Thank you. Yeah, I've never heard that word before, but appreciate you. Yeah, so unfortunately, it looks like he has to go under the knife. And from other people, when this was floated around as a possibility a while back, I remember people saying that he should be back for pre-season at that point, but it would be a season ender from at this stage of the season. Eddie said, for me, if people want to be happy with the results, they can. But for me, I get behind. I can't get behind results at all. The manager. Look, results are important. But you want to be enjoying what you're seeing as well. And I don't enjoy the brand of football. I didn't particularly enjoy it too much last year, but this year we've moved further away from where we'd want to be. So this piece that Keno just sent me, and thank you, Keen, said recovery from a left shoulder dislocation, generally takes 6 to 12 weeks for initial healing of the soft tissues, though full strength and function may take 3 to 6 months or longer. A common recovery timeline involves wearing a sling for 1 to 3 weeks, starting physio around 3 weeks, and resuming normal, non-strenuous activity within 6 to 12 weeks. The irony of this is that my builder that built the studio actually has to get that done. He dislocated his shoulder and it's came out 3 times since, so he has to book himself in, and he said that he'd be out for at least 3 months if he has to get it done. So yeah, it sounds like it's a similar thing. I wouldn't want him, even if he won the league, Champions League and the FA Cup. There's nothing there with him, said Branca. So I'm the same, but the way I look at it, bro, is if he won the Champions League, I have to admit it would feel shitty. You know, as much as I agree with you, and I still don't think long-term he's the guy, if he won the Champions League this year, it's impossible. You couldn't sack a manager that won a Premier League and then a Champions League. Even as much as I can't take to the manager, you'd have to be understanding of that. So, yeah, it's a weird situation for many of us, because I'll always put Liverpool winning ahead of my own desires, but wanting Liverpool to win and then seeing him for another year with the style of football we play and listening to him, it feels like it's going to be hard work. It does. Robert said, I like him. I think he's just very Dutch. It's not the... I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't like the way he speaks. I don't like the way he speaks about the league. I don't like the way he speaks about young players. I don't like the way he speaks about the situation he's in. I just don't like it. You know, talking about some players being of no use to him this season because of, you know, being only available for 5 or 6 big games and stuff like that. It is what it is. And I don't, you know, you look at the likes of Mourinho or others as an example, and often they try to take the load on themselves to keep it off the players. They try to take all the criticism, all the hits on board, and they kind of soak it up like a sponge and try to keep it away and deflect it away from the players. I feel the very opposite. Somebody said something last week, and I haven't been able to shake that. They said basically they're getting Brendan Rodgers vibes off him. And I kind of understand where they're coming from. He does feel like self-preservation is more important. You can't just hate the manager. Mate, respectfully, I can feel however I feel. You know, so I don't need you to tell me how I feel. I feel how I feel. You know, Did I wake up and decide I just wanted to dislike the manager? Not at all. But that's how I feel. And I am not a liar. And I refuse to come on here and say anything else. So, if you don't like that I don't like the manager, that's absolutely fine. You're entitled to like him as much as you want. But, I can't feel that connection. Where were we at? Right, let's talk about Wharton for a minute. Team Talk have said that Manchester United have identified Adam Wharton as a key midfield priority, and the Crystal Palace star is understood to favour a move to Old Trafford over other interested clubs. What do we think about that one? I don't know whether it's true or not. I haven't got a Scooby-Doo whether it's true or not, but yeah, I am. Yeah, that's a weird one. I mean, it's never great reading a report that said somebody prefers the idea of a move elsewhere, but you also have to say, how seriously do we take the report? So, truth is, I don't know, but if I was in his position and I had the opportunity to go to either of the two clubs, I know I'd certainly be going to Liverpool over Manchester United, but hey-ho. Branca said, Craig, that's how I feel, what you just said. It's not just us though, mate. It isn't. And despite what people tried to say, the support just isn't there. It isn't there as widely ranging as it was for Jurgen or other managers. There's something about Arne that's just rubbing a lot of Liverpool fans up the wrong way. Nobody's trying to say he's a bad guy, by the way. I'm not sitting here trying to say he's a bad human being or anything. Seems like a very pleasant, decent fella. I just haven't enjoyed the way he's dealt with the down parts of this season, the negative side of it. Nothing about it just screams leadership to me. Paddy Wacker said, Craig, can you please do a poll on whether people believe the club will sack him? And do you think they will give next season before offering the contract? Just something I'd like to know. Yeah, sure. Let me just finish this one and then I'll ask. Now remember, don't give out to me here, folks. I'm doing a poll again because some people come in, see a poll and think I'm on a mad one and I have an agenda. Like the Salah one the other day. People are coming and giving me stick about a poll that somebody in the chat asked for and I put up. Slot seems to have a severe lack of charisma. So you would have seen me say this before if you're a regular viewer of the channel. When we were on the hunt for a new manager, when I spoke about, what you need to be a manager at a club like Liverpool or Manchester United or a real top club, you need to have more than just tactical awareness and knowledge. You need to have that machismo, that charisma, that X factor. That, people hanging your every word, that you're a presence when you walk into a room. And whether we want to admit that or not, it's true. You need to have that je ne sais quoi about you when you're a Liverpool or Manchester United manager or, you do. And he doesn't. This is just the way it is. He just doesn't have it about him. Captain Adventure said his tactics doesn't suit our style. A few players coming to the end of their career and we got good young players that he needs to buy raw good talent. Would you ever try to do podcasts with former players? Oh, it's a funny story on that one. About maybe 18 months ago, we were in conversation with Stan Collymore. And we were considering doing Craig and Collymore show. We just couldn't get the numbers to work for us. So we had to knock it on the head. But would I ever do it? Yeah, probably. I'd love to do something. I'd love to chat with John Aldridge even once. That'd be a dream. But yeah, I'd definitely do it. Of course. But I'd have to do it making sure that I can actually talk about the things I want to talk about. And none of this, we can't discuss this, or this stuff. Who's a better manager in the market than Slot? So, why do we have to talk about in the market? Because I can say here and name managers. Enrique, better manager. Alonso, better fit. Then you go and look at the managers that could be available after the World Cup. There's a conversation to be had about Julian Nagelsmann. There's a conversation to be had about the up-and-coming manager, Sebastian Hoeneß from Stuttgart. I mean, I could go on. Look, can we not just accept, Ahmed, that you're happy with him and I'm not? That's cool. I've no problem with you thinking he deserves to stay, mate. That's absolutely fine. I just, I am in feeling that way, unfortunately, bro, and I can't force something that isn't there, you know? It's like someone trying to say to me, you're marrying this person, and I just can't connect with them. It's not going to happen. And also, we often as well, Ahmed, you know, in life you talk about sliding door moments, right? And things happening at the right time. Alonso is available now. Now, we don't know if Alonso goes to another club, and whoever that may be. Let's just pluck one out of thin air and say he goes there. Let's say he went to Bayern Munich. Now, obviously, Vincent Kompany's doing a great job, but just for argument's sake, let's say he went to Bayern Munich. We don't know how long he's going to be there for, and if he comes back around again. We know right now he's available. We know right now he's got nothing lined up. So right now there's an option of going for Alonso. Now, I'm not saying Alonso's risk-free. I've said this many times. It isn't. You have to talk about his style there. You have to talk about the personnel we have at the club. But he does have that if factor. He does have that immediate connection with the fan base. He does have relationships with Frimpong. He does have relationships with Wirtz. He obviously understands the Premier League. He's obviously used to being at the top level in Europe. He's won it all in the game. He's been there, done that. He could walk into any dressing room and almost any dressing room and immediately command the respect of that dressing room. So, but I would admit again, there's risk involved with that because he's an unknown manager in the Premier League. So, Lion Black, if you want to have a conversation about not having the is factor, at least let me know who the fuck you're talking about. You said he doesn't have the is factor, you're full of shite. If you're talking about Xabi Alonso not having the if factor, are you insane? Like, genuinely, do you need help? Let me know, mate. We'll send somebody around straight away to make sure you're all right. Xabi Alonso is absolutely fucking dripping in X Factor. I mean, yeah. Have you seen Xabi Alonso in a tin of fruit with a pair of glasses? Like, the man just oozes charisma. Ahmed said, I got a feeling Alonso's not good enough. And that's fine, bro. That's absolutely fine. Like I've said to you, absolutely would agree that there's a risk there. There'll be a risk on anybody that comes in. Because right now, if you look around the world, it's not like there's a whole plethora of proven talent. You know, a lot of them are getting towards the latter part of their careers. You've got the likes of Guardiola, he'll probably take some time away. Carlo Ancelotti, who's at the end of his and signing an extension with Brazil. Then you've got the new young up-and-coming managers, of which Arne Slot would be one of. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not trying to say it's perfect. But you asked me a question and I just wanted to pay you the respect to answer it. Stevie Boy said, there's a strong possibility that both Hughes and Slot go. Edwards is the only one that stays at Liverpool. I don't know what happens. It's a fair point you've raised, Stevie Boy, because at the end of this season, not only Arne has a year to go, Slot and Hughes both have, Hughes and Edwards both have a year to run on their deals as well. So, you know, it's worrying in that regard as well. You know, I would like to see some stability at the club going forward, and you'd like to think that, you know, we extend whoever they think is good enough to extend. Now, you would imagine if they extend Hughes, they'd probably extend Edwards as well. Both of them have been linked with other moves. Hughes barely in the door. You know, this is his first proper year in having actually doing stuff and getting deals done. And he's pulled off some really, really big deals. We did have a lot to do. And of course, they inherited a difficult contract situation, Hughes and Edwards, when they came in. They walked straight into that situation with Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah and Trent last year. And that wasn't of their making. So I felt sympathy for them on that one. and they dealt with that situation as best as they could. So, yeah. But I am also concerned about the way the contract situation's going at the club for a lot of the players. You know, hearing Virgil say he didn't want his to go that late was a worrying one. And again, this season, no real talk on what happens with Robbo. His deal's up. We're not really sure what's going to happen with Georgie. As there's starting to be a few murmurings that he's getting unrest at the amount of game time he's not getting. So there's a lot that I'd like to be ironed out so we have some clarity on for the future. Also, Szoboszlai's contract's running out. Well, it's not running out. He's kind of halfway through it. He's got 2 years to go, along with Gravenberch and McAllister, at the end of this season. Now, I can tell you that those negotiations are underway. There have been conversations, and you've seen probably reports suggesting that Liverpool will happily go to about £250,000 a week for Szoboszlai. And I really do feel he's the priority of those three, I should say. He's the priority for Liverpool to get done. Dean Guy said, what would you rather keep, Ibu or buy another centre-back? I'd rather keep Ibu, Dean. So I've got to give the big man nothing but credit. He's come back from that very difficult passing with his father and losing his dad. And he's been rock solid since he's come back. And the way I look at the situation is, if you look at the centre-backs that we have, we've brought in Jeremy Jacquet, and we've got Giovanni Leone, and we're being linked once again with Jarell Quansah. All those young centre-backs, you know. So if Virgil does move on in a year's time, then you're looking at having 3 young centre-backs and no real senior pro there. So if Canade was to stay, that fills a big hole in the squad for me, experience-wise. So if Canade stayed, then you'd have young centre-backs coming in, Jeremy Jacquet, Giovanni Leone. We'll probably bring in one more as well. And then maybe Quansah comes back. So, yeah. So, if we lost Canade, I think it's even more imperative that we go out and get somebody like a Schlotterbeck. Somebody who is in their mid-20s and ready to play right now, has experience, and can come in and marshal the defence. But if we don't, and Canade leaves, then we're up shit creek. Craig Alonso failed to handle a big club. No, he didn't. The big club failed him. Like, let's be honest about it. The big club failed him, not the other way around. Alonso went in there and tried to instill a sense of professionalism and tried to hold people to account. And at Real Madrid, the players are bigger than the manager. He didn't fail anything. They failed him by not giving him the support that he needed, by not backing him, by allowing these players to run riot. And let's see how that pans out for them, because we've played Madrid this year. We've beat them. Arsenal played them before, beat them. They're second in La Liga, and they're a team full of fucking divas. So, yeah, they failed him, not the other way around. That's honestly how I look at it. Right, let's move on to Luis Suarez. This story, I have to say, I don't believe for 1 second. Not for 1 second. So this report here from Sports Boom said Liverpool and Newcastle are both considering a move to sign Luis Suarez. Now, the Luis Suarez that is at, I think, was he at Almeria before he went to Sporting Lisbon? They said a deal won't come cheap, however, with Sporting expected to demand around €60 million to sanction a transfer. But why would we need him, first and foremost? Like, we have 2 centre forwards and Jayden Dance. I don't understand why we'd even be in the market for somebody to play in the 9 position. I don't get it. It just feels like a very strange link. Maybe the player wants to move away and our name's being bandied about, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Keane said, Xabi was sacked for being too good of a manager. He tried setting standards. Every report coming out after he left just made him seem more likeable. Exactly. He tried to go in and he tried to stop them partying after games. He tried to have them accountable and he tried to set standards the way he wanted that football club to be run. And they didn't back him. So, yeah. Where are we at? I thought you were talking about our Luis Suarez. No, not quite, mate. That would be a worrying link now. if we were being linked with the old Luis Suarez. Craig, we have divas also in our club. Do we? And who would they be, Kevin? I mean, are you honestly with a straight face, Kevin, trying to tell me that the way Real Madrid players conduct themselves and the way Liverpool players conduct themselves are similar? Because I'd love to know, outside of maybe Salah, who, if we're even giving him the label of a diva, he's earned it. But apart from that, who? Because if there's one thing I would always have said about this football club, is that Liverpool don't bring in divas. Liverpool don't bring in destabilising people in the dressing room. It's not something that we've made a habit of doing. If you look into the way Liverpool recruit players, it's not just about what they do on the pitch, it's what they do off the pitch, it's how they live their lives, how they settle down. So much background and checks go into it that, I don't know who these divas are, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. Quansah won't come back, not good enough, let him stay there. Also, sell Bradley, injury proven. Frimpong needs to play more forward. Well, on the Quansah thing, there is a link today. Was it this one? No, sorry, I'm just trying to find it. Here we go. So, again, it's a Team Talk report, and they say, according to Team Talk, Liverpool have been watching Quansah closely over the past month, with representatives from the Anfield Club having watched them in Leverkusen's last 4 games, including him in internal discussions over defensive recruitment for the summer. Although the buyback clause apparently doesn't become active until 2027, the German club wouldn't stand in his way if he were to desire a return to Merseyside, and could reluctantly agree to bring forward the arrangement, reportedly worth £52.5 million in that instance. So, again, I find it very hard to think that Quansah would want to be coming straight back into play under Arna again, who booted him out after 45 minutes and didn't really give him a chance. Now, I'm going to be honest and say I haven't really kept track of how he's been playing at Leverkusen, but by the reports that I've read, he seems to be progressing well enough. He's got Champions League experience, of course, so let's wait and see what happens on this one. I did always feel we would trigger the clause, but I, again, thought it was 2027. Maybe the club do feel it's time to move it forward, or maybe they don't. Maybe the report's wrong, I don't know, but, not only have we got the clause in there, if you read the reports on it also said, gone back a few months ago, that when he signed for Leverkusen, he'd already agreed a wage and a length of deal to come back to Liverpool. Dean Guy said, do you think the quality of the top 5 leagues is in the worst it's ever been? Also, if you could sign any player on a free, who would you want at Liverpool? So, do I think the quality of the top 5 leagues is the worst it's been in a while? It's not really. It's a tough one. Yes and no. I think there's a problem with money in football, and I think there's a problem with people getting away with stuff they shouldn't get away with it because they make a lot of money for people. And that's not just a sporting thing, that's across the globe. That's in the world we live in now. And I think what worries me about a lot of modern footballers is they don't seem to be able to take criticism. And I don't mean hate. Nobody should have to take hate. I mean genuine critiquing and criticism. They seem to be a lot of them seem to be quite soft and fragile. And I can only think about that being because you came through a system where everybody's told you you're great the whole time, blown smoke up your arse, told you how great you are, especially if you're, somebody who was spoken about from a young age as being a real talent. And with the amount of money they're now generating, I think again comes back to the disconnect to the normal working class people that are attending football games. It used to be that you looked at footballers as being one of you, a working class hero almost. Nowadays, you're seeing billionaire footballers, the likes of Ronaldo and stuff. It's mental. So I don't know if it's the standard dropping off or the amount of football that's been played causing these guys to not be at their physical best. Because if we're being honest about it, football is a problem with the calendar. It really does. It's asking too much of players these days. And, you can't have players going 9.5, 10 months of the year without a proper break. And then expecting them to be at their peak. I mean, a great example of that was the Champions League final between Manchester City and Inter Milan 2 or 3 years ago, whenever that was. It was an absolutely horrendous game in what should have been the showpiece of the season. You know, it wasn't the best game of football. It was turgid because they were all absolutely exhausted. And on the second part, any player on a free, right? Who would I take on a free if I could have anybody? Yamal, probably. Bradley, much love, Craig. You're in good form today, mate. Thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Like I said, I'm starting to feel back to myself. Xabi picked Madrid over us. Don't forget that. No, he didn't. Again, if we're going to have conversations, let's have real, honest, genuine conversations. Xabi Alonso was never offered the Liverpool job. For the same reason Ruben Amorim wasn't offered the Liverpool job. Because Liverpool looked at it and thought, for our stage of our development, with Jurgen leaving, there would be too much of an upheaval to go to a back three and change the system. So he was never actually offered the job. So again, if we're going to talk about somebody, let's be honest about it and not do what opposition fans tried to do, which is just undermine our own football club with bullshit. Because he was never offered the job. And you don't need me to tell you that. Anybody will tell you that. He was looked at like many other coaches were, but he was never offered the job. The amount of football and the prolonged extra time minutes have been killing them. Yeah, it's just too much. It really is. Like, there's just too much football happening these days, and it will impact the product. And as on top of that, you see more and more players getting injuries. And this season's been horrendous for that, right across the board. So I find it hard at times to have sympathy with these super highly paid athletes, but I really do have sympathy with them for how much they've been asked to do. I mean, look at other sports. Look at the NFL. You know, they'd have a very busy season, but then they'd have 5 or 6 months to fully recover, rest up, and be ready to go for the next season. Premier League footballers are lucky if they get 8 weeks. Very lucky if they got 8 weeks break. Alejandro said, Xabi Alonso, even if he did choose Madrid over us, is an insanely good manager option out there, and there aren't too many at the minute. And it's an easy win as well. It's an easy win with the fan base. Right, we have a couple more votes to go, and then we'll knock this centre-back vote on the head. You still have time to vote if you haven't. Pick one of us to try to sign Mickey van de Ven, Alessandro Bastoni, Nico Schlotterbeck, or Murillo. This has actually changed as the vote's gone on. At the start, Nico Schlotterbeck was winning it. Now he is in second place. So keep voting away if you haven't voted. J-Bob said, imagine how many players are going to miss the World Cup getting injured this season. It's heartbreaking as players fear it can ruin their season. It is. It's just, and it's all down to greed. That's it. Like that Club World Cup, it's all about Benjamins. That's it. It's only about money. It's not about the game. It's not about improving that. It's all because FIFA weren't getting the type of money that UEFA were generating. And UEFA were dwarfing them with the money they brought in from the Champions League, from the European Championships, from an international stage. And that's all that's about. So it's Infantino and FIFA being greedy. And players are going to be on the hook for it. I'm getting fed up of scumbags ruining sport. I'm truly fucking sick of it. I'm sick of these greedy fuckers bastardizing and ruining sport. And it's non-stop. So many sports that I've loved have been taken over and rinsed. And it's disheartening. Because it seems like when money's involved, nobody has the balls to stand up and say no. Nobody has any morals when there's money waved under their nose. And football doesn't need more money in it. That's not the problem. There's plenty of money in football. It's a strange time we're living in at the minute. Like, pick a sport, whatever sport it is that you watch. Whether it's cricket, whether it's golf, whether it's tennis, whether it's football, whether it's boxing, whether it's MMA, there will be somebody who's trying to change it or bring in a new thing, a new format, a new way of doing it, and it'll be all about that. And ultimately, you'll end up paying for it as the fan because these things go of your price range then. I said this about boxing. I said it at the time where the money from Saudi came in and all these big fights were being taken out of the UK and moved over there, and people are like, but it's good for the sport. No, it isn't. Not at all. The people who are trying to convince you it's good for the sport are the ones who are making money from it. Smokey said Craig VAR is ruining football as well. I think the interpretations of VAR, and again, to boil it all down to something really simplistic, I don't understand how it's possible that laws can be interpreted differently in football. That baffles me. How the Premier League and the PGMOL can look at the football rules and think, right, we're going to interpret this way, and then UEFA will say, no, we're going to interpret it this way, and then you've got different rules being interpreted and played differently. It's just fucking insane. Just stop dicking about with football. Boxing has been ruined by pay-per-view. I mean, yes and no. So I've never felt that the pay-per-views that we pay in the UK and Ireland are too bad. You talk about, what, 20, 25, maybe £30 tops. If you look at what our friends over the United States pay, I mean, they've been getting robbed for years. Like $99 for a pay-per-view. And I'm not sure what the UFC charges because I've never bought a UFC pay-per-view, but it's crazy. And now you've got the likes of Netflix coming in. And if Netflix somehow continue to bring sports involved as part of your Netflix package, that's actually really interesting. But anyway, look, we're going off course. Let's get back to another comment from Arna. This time it's about the top 4 race. And he said, so many things have gone against us this season. In terms of performances, only the first half against Forest was not of our standards. And then they put in brackets, lately. It's changed on how entertaining the Premier League is because of playing styles. 2 weeks ago, you could say that we're not well placed. Things change really fast. We're really close together with a few teams, and things can change every single match day. We focus on our next game, on ourselves. We know every game has been difficult throughout the whole season, and that's what we expect now. He isn't wrong about how a couple of results can change the reflection of things. I agree with him on that entirely. Like, if you think back 3 weeks ago, we were sitting here talking about being 4 points behind Chelsea, and now we're 3 points clear of them. And that's just come from us putting together, 3 or 4 wins. So if we can really start to pick up these points, yeah, we can create that gap and we can give ourselves a bit of breathing room. As gentlemen touched on at the very start of the stream, our end of the season is difficult. Not only that, but if we're to go deep into the FA Cup, deep into the Champions League, the increased difficult fixtures are going to become even more difficult because you're going to be adding in semi-finals of Champions Leagues on top of the horrendous run in the league at the end. So, yeah. Madrid lose 1-0. See? Basket case club. That club's all over the shop at the minute. Yeah. This is probably one of the worst Madrid teams that I can remember in modern times. And it shouldn't be. But that's what you get when you allow divas to run around and do what they want. VAR should have a time limit. If it can't make a decision in 90 seconds, an on-field decision stands. I get where you're coming from, and I think in the spirit of, yes, I would agree with you. Sometimes it does look like they're being too forensic, and they're looking for something. If you have to look at something for 3, 4, 5 minutes, like you've said, you're looking for something then. Like, it's gone from it being clear to you're just being too anal. Is that the right word? Who do you think will win out of the Madrid, City, PSG, Chelsea, Newcastle, Barcelona? I think City beat Madrid. I think City do that. I think PSG beat Chelsea. And I think Barcelona will beat Newcastle, but I think Newcastle will give it a really good go. Especially at St. James's Park. And I wouldn't at all be surprised if Newcastle take a lead over to Barcelona and then cause them problems on the counter. Like, that high line that Hansi Flick plays is, yeah, it'd be manna from heaven, excuse me, for the likes of Anthony Gordon, Anthony Elanga, and some of the pace. Now, the fact that Bruno Guimaraes isn't going to be available is a huge loss for for Newcastle. But yeah, it's an interesting tie. Serious question, Craig. Would you swap Maka for Tchouaméni? No, I wouldn't. I'd swap him for Valverde. We touched on this one yesterday. I'm a big fan of Fede Valverde, and if we were to look for an exchange with Madrid, I'd rather we move Maka and get Valverde if we're talking about a swap. I don't get why VAR sometimes gives the foul for pushing and sometimes they don't. And that, my friend, is absolutely spot on. And you're not on your own on that one. You even hear managers coming out recently talking about it, and they're not wrong. Like, Igor Tudor was looking at the situation where their goal was ruled out against Arsenal, and then a goal stood against them. It's a lack of consistency, and that's what fans want, is consistency. And I've enjoyed the Premier League of letting a few things go this year. I really have. I've enjoyed them letting a bit more of the physical tussling go on. I like the stuff in the 18-yard box from corners. I'm on board with all that. But consistency of decision making is what fans want. And in this day and age where, we all have access to clips and stuff like that, everything is going to be scrutinised. So if you're going to be using video assistant referees, yeah, you best be making these decisions consistent, or you're going to have fans who are rightly pointing out glaring differences in the way things are being interpreted. Liverpool is a hit and miss with transfers. Please change the title of this. I don't have a clue what that's in relation to. I'm not trying to be a smart arse, mate. I don't have a clue. I don't know what you mean by Liverpool are hit and miss with transfers. You want me to tell you we're not interested in a player we're interested in? Diomande is on the list, mate. And some people, and I haven't gone this far, but some people have said that's already a done deal. Now, I have never said that because I don't have that information. But no, I won't change the title of the stream because I picked the title of the stream tonight and it's based off information that we're talking about on the stream. So, no. Craig, on youth development, would a new ruling help if each team must play a youth player? Not really, because they kind of have that with the homegrown aspect, Mark. Each team has to have, if you want the full complement, you have to have 8 homegrown players. And I think they're increasing that as well. I remember reading an article, and if I'm mistaken here, I apologise, but I remember reading an article a while ago about Jurgen Klopp wanting to be involved in some type of reserve league or a high caliber European league for reserve players or young players, something along those lines, which I think would be brilliant because it's difficult. It's difficult to have enough game times at a high level for players who are rehabbing or players who are looking to make that step up. On the Premier League too, it's not really it. Daniel, watching all the way from Seattle. Much love to you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in with us. Appreciate you, Daniel. Right, let's talk Diomande for a minute. Let me just get my notes open here. So, this report that Anfield Sector posted said Yan Diomande is a dream target for Liverpool. Leipzig want to convince Diomande to stay beyond the summer. However, if offers of up to €100 million arrive, they would be prepared to enter negotiations. Now, this is a growing trend in football, that football clubs that have a talent want to sell not at the level the talent is at now, but at the level they believe the talent can get to. And Brighton are a good example of this. And that feels like what Leipzig want to happen here for Diomande. Because there's no way we can say at 19 years of age, 1 season in the Bundesliga, that Yan Diomande is an £86 million or a €100 million player. But could he become that? Absolutely. No doubt about it. So I'd be amazed if anybody comes in at that level this summer. It would be, you'd have to be absolutely convinced that this signing was coming good and coming good quickly. And I don't know how we'd go about valuing a move for Diomande. Like, what would you do if you were in Liverpool's shoes here? What type of fee would you be looking to go in with? Because you're not going to get him cheap, that's for certain right now. But how do you value a 19-year-old player with 1 season in a good league in the Bundesliga? It's a tough one. So, we are only 35 votes away now from finishing our centre-back poll. And while you guys are perhaps having one last vote on that, let me just remind you about our latest giveaway that we've just launched with thanks to our friends at the Collector's Corner. We're giving away a signed Kenny Dalglish frame shirt completely free. Scan the QR code below or use the link in the description for further details. We'll be announcing the winner of that at the end of March. And don't worry, if you have a look on the collectorscorner.co.uk and you see something that you like, you can treat yourself to 20% off with our code Anfield Agenda 1. If you're a fan of UFC, by the way, definitely worth a look. They have so many great UFC products on there. I also know of a couple of Liverpool players they have for sitting soon that I can't talk about yet because, you know, they haven't announced it and it's not my business. But I do know that they have one former Liverpool player that they are doing a sitting with soon, and they have one current Liverpool player that they're looking to do a sitting with soon. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled. So, this is an interesting one. What do we think about this, right? So, Tudor Mercado Web over in Italy have said that Liverpool still hold an interest in Inter Milan right-back Denzel Dumfries amid long-term concerns about their current options in the position. This would be an interesting one, but a tough one. Because obviously Dumfries is getting on in age, but exactly the profile of right-back or on the left side even, a left-back that I would want. Experienced, at the other end of the spectrum from a young right back or a young player like a Bradley or a Frimpong or a Kirkes. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Don't know how seriously to take it, but it's an interesting one. Joey McDonald, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC. Appreciate you. Well, I say welcome. Welcome back in, mate. You've been with us for a long time. Right, so with 33% of the vote, you surprised me with this one. The winner of our centre-back poll with 33% of the vote was Mickey van de Ven. Then came Nico Schlotterbeck. Then came Alessandro Bastoni, joined with Nico Schlotterbeck on 28%, and Murillo on 11%. Very interesting. Thank you guys for taking the time to vote on it. It's that's, yeah, as I said, interesting because I would have bet my life that either Bastoni or Schlotterbeck topped that poll. So, yeah, nice. Diamande is fire, good on both flanks and can also play up top. Helps defensively. A team player, can also has individual brilliance if needed. Yeah, it's a really interesting one. Definitely Folio, mate. I'm with you. It's an interesting one for all the right reasons. Now, I would expect he would want a fairly hefty wage, and could you give him enough playing time? That's an interesting one. Craig, will there be embargoed stuff today? Genuinely, mate, we don't know. We'll find out soon, and if there is embargoed stuff, it'll be coming out in a late video, I promise you. Gonna finish up in about 15 minutes, and if there's anything embargoed, I'll cover it in a late video. Joey said, this is what happens when you cancel cards, Melt. Well, I'm so grateful, Joey, of you becoming a member again for 15 months with us. I'm grateful for your support and, of course, the support of everybody in the chat. If I could ask you a little favour, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. As you can see, we're closing in on 373,000 subscribers, and every one of you that hits the button really does make the world of difference to us. What else we got? So I'm trying to follow a conversation between Pasky and Keane about Slot. So I've only glossed over this conversation, Pasky, so apologies if we've missed some important parts of it, but I can say to you this, mate, I do understand that nobody's going to be Jurgen. I totally get that. And my feeling of not being able to connect with Arne doesn't stem from the fact that he isn't Jurgen. Because I loved Rafael Benitez. He was a very different man. And yes, Jurgen was a generational manager, and we may never see the likes of him again. But that's not, for me, and I can only speak for me, why I can't take to Arne. You know, that's a different thing altogether for me. I don't connect with him. Because, and I will say I don't connect with him because I'm an emotional person, and I like expressiveness. I like somebody who I think could go into the dressing room and give it to them, basically. You know, if home truths need to be told, I want to see a manager in there telling those home truths, and he just doesn't strike me as that type of guy. But again, what motivates me or what worked for me might be different for somebody else. I hope you realise that buying space is just a fake ChatGPT account. No, it isn't. Why? I mean, I probably shouldn't bite on it, but you have that conversation with the person that runs the account and come back to me on it, because I would say, have they used ChatGPT perhaps to word some of their posts? Yeah, I can see that. I can see where you're getting that from with the style of language. But the information inside of it, I would say, has been a lot of it that's been right. So let's wait and see. But look, I always say to you guys, question everything. Question what I say, question what everybody says. And when we look at all of these accounts, we don't just take everything everyone says as gospel. We try to look at it, then ask what this person's saying, then talk to our own people, then see if all these things start trying to line up. If you actually seen the amount of shit that we sift through to get to what we think is maybe worth a conversation, we're not as gullible as maybe you think we are. Where are we? This one. I said, hey bro, been a minute. Who is one player you would sign in the summer? Do you think Slot goes, in your opinion, in the summer? Do I think Slot goes? I don't. I can't answer that question, because if he pulls off the Champions League, then he stays. But if he doesn't, I think probably he goes, yes. One player I'd sign in the summer, Diomande. I'm fully on board with him now, having properly done my research over the last few days, rather than just a couple of seconds on the clip. Yes, I would definitely think Jan Diomande be a good signing. Was there anything else that you put in that I didn't answer? Nope. I think that's her. And yeah, good to see you win again, David. And thank you, my man. Hope all is well. Muldor. Best damn year. Love you, Craigo. Thank you, man. And happy anniversary. Happy anniversary, bro. With us for a year. Appreciate that. Portadown Blue said, is there a world where Trent comes back ever? So I can get past a lot of stuff with the Trent situation. I can get past the wanting to move to Madrid. I can get past the making a mistake. Because like I said, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all make decisions that we may regret, or, you know, look back with hindsight and think we should have done something differently. So I'm always open to a route back. The problem that I have with the Trent situation mostly would be the money, because you're never getting him back on a free. And I wouldn't my arse want to see Liverpool go to Real Madrid and pay them a load of dough for a player that basically ran down a deal and left for next to nothing. That's the real sticking point for me, because I've no problem with somebody saying, look, I made a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have gone. I got it wrong. You know, and the way I went about it maybe wasn't better. I think there is a world where it could be smoothed over to some extent, but it's the money side of it. It just, we'd look like absolute mugs if we went and paid money. It'd be like Paul Pogba, United-esque, and no, I couldn't. But would I take him back with an apology and all the other stuff, money aside? I think there's always a world for forgiveness, yeah. Oh, you're my main man for anything Liverpool. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that, Joey. Yeah, I often wonder, if I didn't have the channel, I often wonder what meaning outside my family I'd really have, because my days are structured around reading, researching, interacting with you guys, and trying to get in the right headspace to come on and do streams, mate. It's a lifestyle for me more than it is even a job. Honestly, I live and breathe this, but I wouldn't want it any other way. Jordan Peterson Jones said, "What's the DIOMANDE news?" 1 second, sir. Let me just scroll back up through my notes. So this is posted by Anfield Sector, crediting Philip Hinze, 24. Said Yan Diamande is a dream target for Liverpool. Leipzig want to convince Diamande to stay beyond the summer. However, if offers of up to 100 million arrive, they are prepared to enter negotiations. On top of that, we had Florian Plettenberg saying Michael Alise and Yan Diamande are Liverpool's dream targets for this summer. However, Liverpool are aware that signing Alise is unrealistic. They know that Bayern have no intention to sell and that the player also doesn't want to leave. Therefore, they're targeting Diamande as he would be more realistic. Bayern have also Diamande on their list, but a move is unlikely. Now, there have been people who've said, even to me, that they think Diamande is a done deal. But I don't feel confident enough in... They wouldn't be on my list of people that have told me that I would put my reputation on the line for. But it definitely feels like there's something substantial to that interest in Diamande. So Aaron Jones, or James, excuse me, I think, did you mistype that, bro? Was that supposed to say, I think Slot should leave? Because that's the only way the sentence makes sense. He said, I think Slot shouldn't leave. The way he's treated Robbo, Salah and Jones is the Liverpool way and unforgettable. He's pushing the legends out. Robbo needs to play more. He's not playing to most strengths. Yeah, so I think you mean he should leave. With regards to Robbo playing more, I think I respectfully would disagree with you on that, because I think Milos Kerkez has really settled in. But I do think we see Andy Robertson play the FA Cup game against Wolves. And I agree with you on wanting Robbo to stay. I absolutely want him to stay for another season minimum. Craig, you're the highlight of our evening. Keep up the fantastic work. It's vice versa, mate. Honestly, I love it as well. I look forward to it. I sit there looking at my watch and put my notes together and, anxiously waiting for 8:45 so we can come on and have a chat. Alan, yes, I did see what you're talking about, mate. So Alan said on Sky today, did you see Chelsea are looking at Núñez in the summer? I said this to Connor earlier on, Alan. It feels like a very weird scenario, doesn't it? Where we're talking about Chelsea wanting to sign a player that can't get into the squad for Al Hilal in the Saudi Pro League. That, to me, it just feels like everything wrong with modern football in one sentence. So there's a player who's gone over and isn't even included in the Al Hilal League squad, will only play in the Asian Champions League, and Chelsea want to sign him. There has never been a more fucked up little world than this one that we're currently living in there. Because obviously he went from us, went over there, and we thought, okay, what happens here? And then he's not even getting into the squad. And now, Chelsea looking at him. It's mad. Also, the English FA wants to trial a new coach's challenge for subjective VAR decisions. This coming from Martin Ziegler of the Times, who said the idea is that coaches would be able to have 2 unsuccessful challenges per game for fouls or handballs. I go back and forth on this one, because in one way I think it's understandable, but then in another way I wonder how it'll be used tactically by managers. It will become something that is used to break a momentum of a game, or to want to give some instruction to players. So you throw a challenge down for something, and then you spend time talking to the players and making little tactical tweaks while the ref's gone over to the monitor. So I like it in theory, but I think in real world practice there'll be a way it'll be weaponized. Timson said Ekitike has been brilliant, but I don't know what will happen when Isak is back. I don't think you're on your own, my man. I don't think you're on your own. You know, we're all intrigued. I think intrigue's the right word to see what happens when Isak is back, because Ekitike has been phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. Is anything on Suarez by chance? Yeah, we talked about the Luis Suarez from Sporting Lisbon. Sports Boom have said Liverpool and Newcastle are both considering a move to sign Luis Suarez. A deal won't come cheap, however, with Sporting expected to demand around €60 million to sanction the transfer. I think he went. Was he at Almeria before there? I think he went from Spain anyway over to is either Almeria or Getafe over to Lisbon. But like, where would we use him? Like, why would we bring in another central striker? I don't get it. We've got Isak, we've got Ekitike, we've got Jaden Dans, we've got Will Wright. I just don't see where. Kirkes for me is a Jurgen style player, fast, crazy, not afraid to get stuck in. Would have been great for heavy metal football. He's exactly that, Pasky. Yeah, he's exactly that. But I think he's a Premier League footballer, is what I would say as well. You know, he's not afraid of the physical battle. He's got a great engine. I just think Kirkes is just a dream for a manager to have at left back. Took a time to get settled in, and he is still young, so he's still going to be a little bit rash at times. But you know, working with Andy Robertson on the training ground every week, learning from him, you know, I think we're seeing the benefit of that. And Milos is been brilliant lately. Thank you, Craig, for giving us a little distraction during a rough week, to say the least. Did I miss any injury update? Nothing really on the injuries, no, other than Wirtz. Wirtz was the only one we really got any type of an insight on today from the manager. Florian Wirtz will miss the next 2 games, Arne Slot confirms, according to Fabrizio Romano earlier on. Not expected to return before the Galatasaray game next week. What's happening with Curtis Jones? Does Slot not like him? Not sure. Not sure is the honest answer. It'll be interesting to see if he gets minutes tomorrow, because of course we played Saturday, we play Tuesday, we play Friday, we play Tuesday. So it'll be really interesting to see if Arne gives him minutes against West Ham. Wolves. If he doesn't get some minutes against Wolves over the next 2 games, I think that's a worrying sign for him. You know, Connor raised the point the other day when Leone came on. Was that an indication maybe that Leone's moving up the pecking order? Maybe, you know, getting utilised ahead of Jones, or is it just not related at all and maybe he's just resting up Curtis Jones? Portadown Blue said, was at the West Ham game, main stand, U6, so an elevated view. Shocked how often midfield disappeared. Could drive a fleet of double-deckers through it. That is something you've heard me talk about time and time again on the channel. Our midfield is far too exposed, especially in transition, and you could just drive a bus through it. Like you've said it, Cara said it. Anybody that understands football, looking at the way Arne has us playing, says the same thing. You could drive a double-decker bus or an articulated lorry through our midfield. Cara reckons that we should sacrifice one of the attacking 4 to put in another midfielder, and I do understand where he's coming from. Yeah. So I'm glad you noticed it, because sometimes I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall saying that, and people maybe disagreeing with me on it. But yeah, you could drive a bus right through the middle of it. Is there a chance Szoboszlai being in the conversation to get the Ballon d'Or if we win the Champions League? Don't know. Do you know what? I've never really... I tend not to think too much about Liverpool players in the Ballon d'Ors in advance, because 1, we usually get fucked over, and 2, I've lost all faith in that since Virgil didn't get his, because Virgil deserved the Ballon d'Or that year, in my opinion. So I kind of lost any interest in the Ballon d'Or since that. Would you rather watch 90 minutes of Arsenal or eat broccoli dunked in Carolina Reaper sauce? I'm going to have to say the Arsenal one, mate. I'd rather watch Arsenal than than eat broccoli, and that's like double hell for me. Broccoli and Carolina Reaper peppers. No, that's... What do we think of Spurs, by the way, being charged? Ben Jacob said Spurs have been given a €30,000 fine and a suspended one-match ban from selling tickets to away fans due to what UEFA terms the racist and or discriminatory behaviour of its supporters against Frankfurt on the 28th of January. The ban is suspended for a probationary period until March 2027, and Spurs also got fined $2,250 for throwing objects. Right, ladies and gents, I am going to go and record a news roundup video from a lot of the subjects we went through tonight that maybe people didn't have a chance to see or were coming in late. And if there is anything embargoed that comes over the next few minutes, we'll include that as well. Just a couple of things before we finish up. One, please do hit that like button for me if you can. Don't forget about our new giveaway that we launched today with thanks to our friends at the Collector's Corner. You can win that signed and framed King Kenny Dalglish shirt completely free. Scan the QR code below or use the link in the description for further details. Tomorrow for the watch along, we'll be live from 7 p.m. We're going to have a couple of news videos coming out tomorrow as well. Connor will be here with his 10 a.m. morning video. I'll be here early afternoon for a video, and then we'll see you at 7 p.m. Reminder, kickoff's a little bit later tomorrow. It's an 8:15 kickoff against Wolves, and fingers crossed we can put another 3 points on the board and extend that gap on Chelsea. So, appreciate you all tonight. Another fun stream. Thank you so much for giving up some of your time to come and have a chat with me. See you tomorrow, where fingers crossed we get the job done and hopefully put in a good performance as well. Much love, my friends. We'll talk soon.